Hey guys, so today we're going to continue our discussion of the plasma membrane, which is the same as the cell membrane. Specifically, our objective is to identify the structure and function of parts of the cell membrane by labeling a diagram. We started this process on Friday when you were building your models. What I want you to do is answer these two questions. So you're going to pause the video and you're going to answer these questions. Once you have that answer, you'll put them down here. So pause the video. All right, welcome back. So make sure that you've checked yourself on these with Edpuzzles answering the questions. Second, this unit, cell transport, that we're in is entirely dependent on you knowing a lot of vocabulary. All right, so that's what's going to make or break you on this. So every day we're going to have a vocabulary quiz at the start of every class. So you will have a quiz on these words tomorrow. So just get ready for that. Make sure that you copy down these definitions. Okay, we're going to go over a little bit more of the cell membrane. If what I say doesn't make sense to you, I've also attached this video that you can watch just to make sure that you get everything that you need. All right, so a couple of review terms. Another word for stable environment. All right, that would be homeostasis. So homeostasis, remember, is just like maintaining a balance. So if you look at this little man here, right, he's very balanced. Now, we bring this up because the cell membrane is critical in regulating or controlling that balance or that stability through its main function, which is controlling what enters and exits the cell. All right. So if we picture that in the middle here is like our cell membrane, okay, the cell membrane basically makes sure that whatever is inside the cell is equal to outside the cell. All right, so it makes sure that the environment and inside the cell stays about the same. It stays balanced, right? Too much of anything is not good for you. You know that. Like being too hot or too cold is not good. Homeostasis is the process of maintaining that balance. All right, we talked a little bit about this on Friday. The cell membrane is made of primarily a phospholipid bilayer. Phospholipid bilayer. I know these are fancy words. All right, so a phospholipid in and of itself, I'm going to draw a little phospholipid. It's so cute. All right, it has a polar or phosphate head, or phosphate head that is polar, and it has nonpolar fatty acid tails. Okay, so this whole thing is an example of a lipid. All right, it has a polar head and nonpolar tails. It's called a bilayer because there are going to be two layers, just like you saw in your model. All right, I want you to flip your page. All right, make sure that you copy down these notes at the very top. Okay, so we call the cell membrane selectively permeable, or it has selective permeability. I know these are big words. It's basically the fancy way of saying it controls what enters and exits. If you think of the word permeate is like passing through. So it only allows certain substances to pass through the membrane, but not all of it. It's the gatekeeper, kind of like the bouncer of the cell. It's only going to let certain things in. All right, another word for selectively permeable is semi-permeable. So I know we're using like multiple words for saying the same thing. Thank you, science. All right, but this semi-permeability is the characteristic of the cell membrane that allows it to maintain that homeostasis or that balance, because it's only letting certain things through, not everything. All right. Next, we want to go over the structure, okay? Before we do that, just to recap, there are like a million names for the cell membrane. We have the fluid mosaic model, we have the plasma membrane, we have the cell membrane, we have the phospholipid bilayer. So all of these things are called the cell membrane. We're going to focus on this as the fluid mosaic model, and we're going to do that by focusing on the parts of the cell. I'm going to scooch my paper down so you can copy this. So pause the video and copy all this down. All right, welcome back. So I'm going to go over each of these parts. All right, phospholipid. I have one phospholipid down here, okay? Polar head, fatty acid tails that are nonpolar. All right, cholesterol. Cholesterol is this thing that helps actually make the cell membrane fluid. It's called a mosaic model because it has a bunch of different parts, like all the ones that you wrote down here. And it's fluid because it's constantly moving. It's submerged in water. All right, next is a carbohydrate. So carbohydrates are up here, okay? So these carbohydrates act as like a little flag or a little signal of kind of an identifier. So let's say you have like the immune system is kind of going around and it's like, all right, I think there's an invader, let's find it. Well, this flag here could be like, no, like don't destroy me, I'm one of your cells. Okay, phospholipid bilayer. So the bilayer is because it has two layers. Remember, bi means two. So it has two layers, 1, 2, all throughout. Protein are these big structures here, and it helps to transport larger molecules in and out of the cell membrane. So that's your review for plasma membrane. Here, you're going to use this model to identify these different letters. It's not going to be all the letters, just look at the ones here. And then you're going to match one of these correct letters to here, although this one has two answers. Make sure that you are annotating at least 3 words per question. And just let me know if you have any questions and have fun.